Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Heart to Heart with Sunil Gavaskar, hosted by H2H Foundation. Warm welcome to all the viewers joining us from both America as well as from India. Good morning to all of you. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us on this program. We're going to go live with the cricket legend, Mr. Sunil Gavaskar, who's joining us from India shortly. And this program is being broadcasted live on YouTube worldwide, as well as on radio through our media partner, Radio Zindagi.
Since 2011, Radio Zindagi has left the listeners awestruck and glued to our jovial, entertaining, yesteryears and entertaining programs from East Coast to West Coast. Tune in now to America's biggest South Asian radio network, Radio Zindagi, in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut on 5:40 AM and in San Francisco and San Jose on 11:70 AM. दुनिया सुन रही है और आप तो फिर रेडियो जिंदगी के संग जिए जा और मजे लिए जा.
Before we start the program, on behalf of Heart to Heart Foundation, I want to welcome you all. My name is Arvind Tyagarajan, one of the trustees and board members of Heart to Heart Foundation, based here in California. And Heart to Heart Foundation is focused on heart surgeries for children. Our motto is heart operation to heart transformation. What we mean by that is that it's not only about saving a child's life, but it transforms the giver, the child, the family, and the entire community. So Heart to Heart Foundation is dedicated to saving the lives of all children born with congenital heart defects by supporting free pediatric cardiac surgeries. And we believe it takes a heart to save a heart. So again, we are very, very fortunate to have the cricket legend, Mr. Sunil Gavaskar, who is also the chairman of board of governors of Heart to Heart Foundation. And we are very, very honored to have him on this call. And before I bring Sunilji live on the video, it is my duty to acknowledge all his cricketing achievements. And of course, he doesn't need an introduction at all, but he has got such an amazing cricket career that I have to acknowledge some of these statistics. First of all, he's the first test player to make over 10,000 runs, and he scored 34 test centuries, which was a record for a long time until the star cricketer Sachin Tendulkar overtook that record almost after 2 decades. And he was the player who scored the maximum runs against West Indies, 2,749 runs and almost 13 centuries. And the only cricketer to score 4 consecutive centuries at 2 venues, Port of Spain and Vankiri. He also has the record for scoring a double hundred in every innings of a test match, right? And he had 58 century partnerships. He's an outstanding fielder, and excluding wicket keepers, he was the first Indian fielder to get over 100 catches in test cricket. He also captained the national team between the period 1978 and 1985, was named one of the Wisden Cricketers of the Year in 1980. And he scored 127 not out in Faisalabad Test in 1983, and the first Indian to carry the bat in a test match. We can easily keep adding a few more slides about his achievements, the Chennai knock of 236 not out, and so many other wonderful, wonderful innings. But above all, he's a great personality. And after his cricketing career, he has been in the media as a commentator for more than 3 decades. And he's also the recipient of the Padma Shri Award, as well as the Padma Bhushan Award. And once again, Mr. Sunil Gavaskar, the chairman of board of governors of Heart to Heart Foundation. Let's welcome Sunilji. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Morning, Sairam. It's
Sairam,
evening over. It's evening over there. In the West Coast, isn't it?
Yes, it is evening in California, and since you probably will be missing the cricket ground being locked down at home, I thought I'll put a nice virtual background of the Vankiri Stadium. So to give you a feel like we are sitting in the commentator box. How are you doing? First of all, how's your health and how's your family doing?
With Swami's grace, everything is fine. We have been isolated in the house. We have, and luckily, again, with Swami's blessings, there has been no problem whatsoever in the sense that as far as communication is concerned. We have this the video call with in terms of food. The groceries have been available, so everything's been really quite okay. The only change is that I don't remember being in one place for so long as this because of the lockdown. But
yeah.
Having said that, I'm pretty much enjoying myself. I've got so much time to myself now. Sometimes you're in the rat race, trying to catch up with the world. But here I am with myself, and I'm really enjoying it, being with myself, and trying to sort of rediscover myself, if one may say that.
That's wonderful, sir. And we really appreciate you joining us on this live video call despite all the restrictions. And I want to mention to the users that there is complete lockdown in India. And despite that, and despite not even having all the technology and setup, Sunilji has very, very kindly accepted to be on this video call. And I also want to mention in advance that please bear with us in terms of some of the technology aspects, because we're doing this through our home systems and network and things like that. But we're again very thankful, sir, and hope everybody stays healthy and safe in India, and hope the situation gets better worldwide. And what are some of your experiences being at home? And can you share with us how you're spending time? I was actually going to ask, you must be really missing the traveling and so on. So
yes, I think, well, I'm not really missing the traveling so much, because, there you are pretty much moving according to somebody else's timetable. Now what has happened is I've got my own timetable. I'm waking up at my own time. I'm reading. I'm reading a lot more than what I used to earlier on. Because of the travel, it was mainly magazines, but nothing, no books or anything of the sort. Being stuck at home, and you're very careful about what you eat as well. You don't want to overeat, because there is no activity really. So that has helped me to lose a bit of weight. I see a little bit of some television films or something like that on television in the evenings, but not every day. In fact, for the last 1 week, I haven't seen television at all. So that's really what I've been doing. And like I said, trying to sort of rediscover myself. I'm doing a bit of writing. I've got a couple of columns which I write. So I've been doing that every week. And now I'm just trying to put some thoughts on paper, about my career. A lot of people said to me that I should write Sunny Days too, because Sunny Days was my autobiography. And I wrote it nearly 5 years after I started playing cricket. That's no time to write an autobiography. You actually write an autobiography when you're about maybe retired from the game or something like that. So a lot of people have told me that, why don't you, now that you've got time on your hands, why don't you try and, complete it? So while I haven't actually got around to doing that, maybe in a day or two, I might start penning my thoughts down again.
That's wonderful. Seems like you're coping really well with COVID. And I was actually just reading this joke a few days back on WhatsApp. Somebody sent me that a panda eats for more than 12 hours in a day. And many of us are doing the same, and which is why it's called a pandemic. But we are very, very curious to know how you have managed to lose so much weight, because I read somewhere that you almost gone back to the weight which you were in during the World Cup days or something. Is that correct?
No, my debut, not even World Cup debut.
Wow.
So yeah, I think it's just the fact that, like I said to you earlier, that you're a little more careful what you're eating, because you have no exercise really. I mean, I do go up on the terrace of the apartments where we are, and I walk for more than an hour over there, do a bit of very light jogging for some time. So all that I think has helped in bringing the weight down. And you're right. I think I'm absolutely right now. I'm the same weight as I was when I made my debut in the West Indies many years ago.
Wow, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. Also, from your sporting experiences, when you go through an injury or when you are locked down at home for a while, what do you tell yourself? How do you get back? How do you inspire yourself to come back and play the game, whether it's the game of cricket or in the game of life? whatever your profession is, how do you actually get back and inspire yourself?
See, with when you're playing cricket and you're bang in the middle of the career, then there is always that incentive that you want to get back on the field and play cricket again. And if you're fortunate enough, if you're blessed enough to be an international player, the incentive is even greater because you want to get back to playing international cricket. So I've had, I would say, a couple of major injuries. Both luckily happened at a time when I got hit in test matches. I was fielding at forward short leg in the pre-helmet days, and I got hit on the cheek. I had a fractured and a depressed cheekbone, so I was out of cricket for almost 3 weeks. But in those 3 weeks, luckily there was no test match, so I was able to recover and then go and play a test match without missing a test match. And the second injury was when I was fielding at Silly Point on the other side of the wicket. When I got hit on the cheek, I was at forward short leg. When I broke my leg, when Ian Botham played a fierce square cut and it hit me on the leg and it broke my that minor bone, not the major bone. I was out of cricket again for almost 6 to 8 weeks. And luckily, again, in that 6 to 8 weeks time, there was no test match cricket. So I didn't miss cricket, but there was always that the cricket is there, that I've got to get fit. I've got to get back into the game. So that kept you going. So despite the fact that, these were painful injuries, you are learning to bear with the pain because there was that incentive that you want to play for India in the next 3 weeks or the next 8 weeks. That was always there in front of you. So that also was, like an incentive, like I said, like a recharge machine, sort to say, when you put your phone, for example, or your computer or your tablet for recharge. That's how you sort of got yourself recharged to look to play for India again.
Sure, that's fantastic. And on a physical level, that is great. On a mental note, in terms of staying positive, cheerful, or any other suggestions or advice you would like to give for the viewers in terms of how to stay positive?
Well, I think you've got to stay positive because you want to get back to your life again.
Yes.
And of course, life will be a lot different than before COVID-19. For example, we'll be very careful with how we connect with people in terms of physical contact. We'll probably be having distancing, and that's probably for the best. And so I think life will be a little bit different. So we can in terms of that prepare how that life will be different. And also maybe that we might be in a situation that we might actually not be going to offices or workplaces. We might be working more from, home maybe, or even from some place where there is nobody else around you, no other office or office colleague around you. That could be the case. So I think mentally you've got to prepare yourself for that. Cricket and sport, again, where it's a physical contact sport sometimes, like football and soccer, hockey, for example, there is a little bit of physical contact. I'm not too sure how those games are going to go. But yes, I think mentally we've got to be prepared for a world that has changed.
True. In fact, I was reading an article about the soccer premier leagues, looking at having like cardboard pictures of audience, spectators, and so on. Do you think, is that a possibility for cricket also, rather than playing in empty stadiums and so on?
Yes, but I think, performers, whether it's a sports person or a singer or, a musical, somebody who plays a musical instrument, they all like when they are performing in front of an audience and the audience reacts to what they have done. That is a real big lift. That's a real thrill. And that will be missing. Yes, I think you can play in sport, because sport, sometimes you don't always play in front of full houses. For example, in Ranji Trophy that is played, or the county championships that are played in England, or the first class matches which are played in different countries. There aren't thousands of people. There's not a throng at the stadium. So you play in front of less people, or you play in front of sometimes very, very, very few people, maybe 100, 200 people. So that way, I think, you are a little bit used to playing in front of, crowds which are silent, which will not. But when you're representing your country, that is when you actually expect a lot more people to be there. So it's going to be a mental adjustment more than anything else. But yes, I think it can be done.
Sure. So apart from the less traveling and working from home and less spectators and mental adjustments, people are talking about this new normal and the new world. Anything else that you personally would like to see as part of this new normal or new world?
Well, an understanding. I think we've all had that understanding during this lockdown period, and some countries have had more days of lockdowns than other countries. But I think there is a realization, and that should be the realization of just about everybody, is that how little we actually need to live. Sometimes in our pursuit of the material things in life, we tend to sort of go overboard. But I think this lockdown has shown that we don't need all that stuff. We don't need so many so many maybe clothes. We don't need so many ties. We don't need so many shoes. We don't need so many, it has taught us that we can actually live with so little and live comfortably, live, happily. So I think that realization will probably make a big difference to a lot of people when normal life, as we call it, resumes.
That's wonderfully said. I remember the ceiling on desires as a human value, and that allows us to give back more to the society. And on that
Yes.
note, I want to really appreciate you and acknowledge the wonderful contribution you made to the Prime Minister Cares initiative and giving back, matching to your 59 surgeries, 34 from your international surgeries and 25 from your domestic surgeries. That's such a noble initiative. Great gesture, sir. Thank you so much for that.
Well, that's just a drop in the ocean, really, because the need, because of the way so many people, thousands of people have been affected. A lot of livelihoods have been lost as well because of this lockdown. And so, whatever I have contributed is just a drop in the ocean. And the more people contribute, the more we'll be able to help the poor, in particular, the daily wage workers. They really are in a sad way, in a bad way, and they need tremendous help. They need to be looked after. They are the ones who actually run our economy. I mean, you go to the factories, they are the ones who are doing it. If you're looking at a building industry, they are the ones who are building our homes. Look at the farmers, for example. They are the ones who are putting food on our table. And so we've got to look after all of them. And I just mentioned, 3 such professions. There are so many because of whom we are actually able to live the comfortable life that we do. The police personnel, for example, they have put their lives on the line. The doctors, the medical personnel, they have put their lives on the line while trying to, save us from this COVID. And we must respect that. We must make sure that we give back to them. We in whatever way we can. Sometimes you read in that there has been some violence against these security personnel or the medical personnel, and that is so unnecessary. That is, they are the ones who are actually trying to help. They are the ones who are actually trying to save you. And I know sometimes they have to be a little strict in terms of making sure that you are not in a crowd, that you are separated. There is that social distancing. But they're doing that only for your own good. I think that is to be understood. And hopefully, I think we'll not hear any more of any of these incidents against the medical personnel and the security personnel.
Absolutely. And just for the benefit of the viewers, Sunilji, in his new innings, so to speak, has moved on from a life of game to a game of life, whether it is helping these people who are affected by the current COVID crisis, or some of you might recollect, last year, Sunilji became part of H2H Foundation and started his new innings to support the heart surgeries of children. And he matched the 34 cricketing centuries to support 34 life-saving surgeries for children. And he also very, very kindly accepted to become the chair of Board of Governors of H2H Foundation. It's such a wonderful gesture. And he was so inspirational with the Mumbai hospital that was built by Sai Sanjeevani Group, who's in partnership with H2H Foundation, providing this free heart surgeries to children. And Sunilji also was part of a USA tour in 10 cities in 2019 called Bat for Life. And through that whole tour, we created a lot of awareness about this mission to save the lives of children suffering from congenital heart defects. And we also raise support for more than 1,200 surgeries. So the thought of 1,200 children being saved through that initiative is so satisfying. So, Sunilji, would you like to share some of your thoughts on how this whole inspiration for gift of life, giving this life to children started for you?
Well, I think first and foremost, I've been a devotee of Sri Satya Sai Baba and my family too for more than 50 years. And clearly, I think, he inspires people, he blesses people to do things which benefit the others. And I've been blessed to be able to do something like this particular cause of trying to save as many lives of children born with CHD. That is so sad. The parents, when they come to the hospital, they look so hopeless, the parents. Once the surgeries are performed, and the surgeries are done completely, like you said just now, completely free of cost. It doesn't cost the parents anything. Right from the time they come to the hospital, they're admitted. The parents are kept in an annex in the hospital itself, so that they're near. They are pretty much there for their child 24 hours if needed, and they're looked after. Everything is taken care of. Their food, their lodging, boarding, as they say, everything is taken care of. And once the surgery is done, and we in the three hospitals that are there, the Sri Satya Sai Sanjeevani Hospital in Palwal in Haryana, which is about an hour's drive from New Delhi, then the one in Chhattisgarh in New Raipur, and the one in Mumbai, which is again an hour's drive from Mumbai, in Kharghar in Mumbai. So these three hospitals are performing free surgeries, and when the parents are told by the doctors, and are like, I was just going back to our success rate, I think 99.9 is the success rate of the surgeries performed in these hospitals. And so when the parents are then told that their child is going to live a full, normal, healthy life after the surgery, I mean, the gamut of emotions on their faces is worth seeing. To me, it's worth than a double hundred. The joy that you get out of scoring a double hundred, the joy to be able to see that emotion first of disbelief, and then of joy on hearing that their child is going to be absolutely, after the surgery, absolutely normal. I mean, that emotion is worth, like I said, more than a double hundred. So that has been absolutely fantastic to see. And this is something that I can identify with, because what we call this surgery is a gift of life. And I identify with it because, look, when I started playing for India, in my first test itself, I was batting on 12, and I edged a ball to second slip, where Sir Garfield Sobers, the greatest cricketer ever in the world, in my view, he just stopped a simple catch, in and out. That gave me a cricketing life. I was able to go on to score a half century in that innings, and that helped me to keep my place for the next test. And in the next test, I was batting on 6 when I went for a cut, and this time the ball flew because it was of a fast bowler. It really flew, and once again it was Garfield Sobers at second slip, and he missed it. It hit him on the chest, and before he could recover, the ball was down on the ground, and I went on to score my first test century. So these two cricketing lives that I got allowed me to play for India for 16 years. And I mean, if I hadn't got those lives, I would not have, I mean, I probably wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be talking to you. And therefore, this gift of life to the child makes so much sort of, it sort of touches me very deeply, because I can understand what it means to be given a life, given another opportunity to do something in life. And therefore, when Swami asked me to be the chairman of the board of governors, I mean, I was blessed. I was humbled. I was blessed that I've got this opportunity to do something a little bit. And, I'm really blessed to be able to do that.
That's wonderful. And since the Navi Mumbai hospital commenced its heart surgeries last May, it's almost
Yes.
now a year. And
Yes.
how was your first experience with the baby Ananya, who was 8 months old during the very first surgery that was performed there? How did you feel about that?
Well, just imagine that, such a small baby. I believe that, I mean, the surgery was such a delicate one, because apparently, and I'm not an expert, apparently her heart was the size of a peanut. And to be able to, perform that kind of a delicate surgery on such a small, part of the body, and to do it successfully, it actually tells you the skill level of the doctors at the Sai Sanjeevani's and the one in Mumbai. That was fantastic. And to then, like I said, to see the joy on the parents' face was something else. So yes, it's a little more than a year. It was, I think, on the 6th of May, 2019, when that first surgery was done at the Mumbai hospital. And thereafter, I think there are so many have been done. You have the figures of all the surgeries which have been performed in all the 3 hospitals. That has been absolutely fantastic. And then later on, that when Swami was there, and Swami said that she is going to become a doctor. So Ananya is actually going to become a doctor when she grows up, and she's going to be at the one of the Sai Sanjeevani hospitals. So, like you said earlier, it's not just transforming the child; it's transforming the family, and in transforming the family, we are also hoping and praying to transform a society as well. So, I think that is fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic.
That's great. And just for the benefit of viewers who are actually listening to this the very first time, I want to take them through a very short introduction about the Heart to Heart mission and the Sai Sanjeevani hospitals, which is what Sunilji always insists on doing before we start any program when we did the roadshow in USA last year. So I'm going to take a few minutes to share a little bit about the background about this work. Like Sunilji said, like Ananya, the baby who was operated first in the hospital, there are more than 300,000 children in India who are born with congenital heart defects every year. And the sad part is that out of them, 90,000 or more children don't even survive until their first birthday, which means per day, more than 250 children are dying in India because of CHD, and thousands more worldwide. Now, a crisis like COVID, which affects everybody, gets a lot of media attention, but unfortunately, a congenital heart defect, which kills all these children day in and day out, doesn't get as much awareness. That's why we took it upon ourselves to create more awareness about this, because one of the main reasons why these children don't survive is because only 2 to 3% of these affected children and their families receive surgery, because they mostly come from an underprivileged background. And in India, cardiac surgery costs typically more than $5,000. And in the US, these surgeries could cost even as high as $25,000 to even $250,000. And it's so saddening to see the picture of a mother having a dying child in her hand. And that's what is happening every day for so many families. And we wanted to prevent this. And the only solution for this is to provide free heart surgeries, because most of these children come from underprivileged families. And on the right is what you see is the baby Ananya that Sunilji was talking about. And this was right after her surgery when she was 8 months old, and she's survived. And now she's almost going to be 2 years old. And as Sunilji mentioned, her family wants her to become a doctor, and hopefully one day she will, perform surgeries for many more children to come. And that is truly a full cycle happening. And as Sunilji mentioned earlier, the Sai Sanjeevani hospitals, whom Heart2Heart Foundation is partnering with for providing free heart surgeries, have 3 hospitals. Each hospital is in the shape of a heart itself. It's a beautiful structure. The first hospital was built in Raipur in central India in state of Chhattisgarh. The second one is in Palwal near New Delhi in Haryana, and the third one in Navi Mumbai, Maharashtra. And the fourth one is under construction in Kolkata in West Bengal. And there are also plans to have hospitals in Gujarat, Rajasthan border, as well as in other countries like Fiji Islands in South Pacific. They're going to have a hospital built this year and launched very soon, and then also in Sri Lanka and Nigeria. So this is a global chain of hospitals providing absolutely completely free heart surgeries for these children. And apart from the open heart surgery, there is also the cardiac cath interventions that are performed. In fact, Sanjeevani Hospitals had the very first dedicated pediatric cath facility in the country in India. And only in the cricketing world, we have a lot of rivalry with our neighbors. But when it comes to matters of heart, there have been a lot of children, even from Pakistan, Yemen, Fiji, and Bangladesh, and all the other neighboring countries who have benefited from these free heart surgeries. And a lot of patients coming from India are from almost all the 30 states in the country, more than 10,000 villages. Those children have benefited from these free heart surgeries. And the statistics are just unbelievable. In the last 7 years, close to 12,000 surgeries have been performed completely free of cost. That includes over 9,000 pediatric heart surgeries and almost 3,000 pediatric cath interventions. And over 100,000 children have been given free consultations. And there's also been close to 90,000 outreach screening programs that has been done by the Sanjeevani Hospitals and Heart2Heart Foundation. And since we are talking about the first year anniversary of the commencement of heart surgeries of the Sai Sanjeevani Hospital in Navi Mumbai, which Sunilji was a great inspiration for, the hospital has signed an MOU with the state government of Maharashtra, and we're also visited by the star cricketer Sachin Tendulkarji. And in terms of surgeries, usually Sunilji is the one giving the score update, but here I am trying to do this. And there are 167 surgeries done. And as Sunilji mentioned, the success rate is more than 99%, which is on par or even better than the best hospitals worldwide, including the likes of Stanford and Boston Children's Hospital and so on, which is really unbelievable. And then there are more than 1,465 cardiac OPDs done. And in terms of screening, there are more than 12,000 children who are being screened with a very unique device called as HT-Stats, which is invented by yours truly as part of my professional work with my company called HT Medical, where it really helps even a non-specialist doing a quick screening of these cardiac murmurs, which are caused by these congenital heart defects. And almost 50 of them were diagnosed with CHD, and 9 were operated at Sai Sanjeevani, and their lives were saved. And that is truly a satisfaction. Like Sunilji said, it's like getting a double 100. As a scientist, as an inventor inspired by Dr. Abdul Kalam, this is truly the reward that we want in terms of saving more lives. And that's where I'm glad and proud for my team at HT Medical to have developed this HT-Stat device. And another big part of the screening is to look at the expecting mothers, and 613 pregnant women were followed up under the antenatal care program. And another key aspect of the Mumbai hospital is the training and skills development. Over 300 government public healthcare workers have been trained for screening as well as for other aspects. And these pregnant women have also been given nutrition and so on, so that it can prevent the congenital heart defects from happening, because that is one of the main causes for these congenital heart defects. So I must say it's done a fantastic job in the very first year of operation. But despite all these statistics, the real sad part is that there are more than 35,000 children waiting for a heart surgery in the queue in the Sai Sanjeevani hospitals, and thousands more who have not even been identified yet. And that's where there is a huge need to really increase these numbers and do much more surgeries. Despite doing like more than 12,000 surgeries in the last 7 years, we are looking at targeting at least 5,000 surgeries this year and 10,000 next year, and expanding ever after. So what we have done very uniquely, while the surgeries are provided completely free of cost for those children, when I say completely, not only the surgeries, but also for the parents who come their food, accommodation, everything is provided free, and the follow-up care is also provided free. So it is completely free for the patient. But in terms of supporting a heart surgery for a child, we have optimized the cost to be around $1,200 as compared to $5,000 or more in other hospitals. And this $1,200 is like $100 per month. And in true American terms, it's less than a $5 coffee per day. That's all it takes to save a child, right? And of course, we are looking for more participation. If people want to participate in this mission, please visit us at h2h.foundation, or you can contact us through the email info.usa@h2h.foundation, or you can take a snap of this QR code. And I'm going to play a video real quick on some of the work that is being in Sai Sanjeevani. And after that, we will continue with the chat with Manoj.
India is fast becoming the world capital for congenital heart disease, CHD. This translates to losing 250 to 300 children every single day without medical or surgical intervention. "25% of them may or may not live to celebrate their first birthday." Open heart surgery in India costs about $5,000, which is out of bounds for the underserved and impoverished families. We are the H2H Foundation. It is a non-profit organization that is dedicated to saving the lives of children born with congenital heart defects. Our vision is to cover the entire spectrum in this ailment and fund programs for the prevention and screening, as well as provide pediatric cardiac surgeries free of cost. We collaborate with pediatric cardiac centers of excellence across developing countries. One such partner is the Sai Sanjeevani Hospital in India, that has become a trailblazer and a beacon of hope for Fiji, Nigeria, and Sri Lanka. Time is racing, and so are we. Life is not measured in minutes, but in heartbeats.
आज से 6 मंथ पहले मैंने लोकल ट्रीटमेंट करवाया, तो वहाँ से मालूम चला कि हमारे बच्चे के दिल में होल है।
ऑपरेशन भी कर देंगे तो भी ये ठीक नहीं हो पाएगा। इस टाइप से बताएं, जितने दिन रखना है रख लो, हम लोग का ज़िंदगी है ये एकदम। तो फिर उसके बाद हम लोग को नेट से पता चला यहाँ के बारे में, हम लोग यहाँ आए, दिखवाएं। आज मेरा बच्चा सही सलामत है, सब इस हॉस्पिटल का देन है, और 1 रुपया मेरा खर्चा यहाँ नहीं हुआ है।
इसके मम्मी के पेट से पता चल गया था कि इसको हार्ट का प्रॉब्लम है, ऐसे करके। अभी खेलता है अच्छे से, खाता भी है, पीता भी है, प्रेम भावना बहुत है यहाँ पे।
So again, viewers, if you would like to participate in this mission, please visit H2H.Foundation or contact us on info.usa@H2H.Foundation. With that, we will move on to more of the heart-to-heart chat with Sunil Ji. So Sunil Ji, thanks again for allowing us to share about this wonderful work. And I think you always insist on doing this before we start the program. So I hope this was helpful for the viewers to understand the background, why Sunil Ji and all of us are so inspired in this work. So Sunil, anything else you want to add on that?
Well, I mean, like I said, it really is, you know, it's a very small contribution from everybody that is needed. Like you explained, you know, it's less than $5 for a coffee. If you're talking about, you know, $100 a day, that is $100 a month. And clearly, whatever that is given will help save a life. And you know, you give the best gift that you can ever give anybody is the gift of life. And I think that's my appeal to all those who are watching this, that please come and join us in our effort to save as many children's lives as possible.
Wonderful. And we were actually planning for more events later this year, almost a 20-city tour in 2020. But given all this COVID situation, let's pray that we can have you back in the US as soon as possible. We are actually really missing you.
Yes.
But for the benefit of all the viewers, we would love to have some questions which we used to cover in our physical events, especially about some of your early days in your journey. Actually, I want to start right from your birth story. And I believe that it was a very interesting experience that happened during your birth. So could you please share that with the viewers?
Yes. I was born with a little hole near my ear. And on the day that I was born, an uncle, Narayan Masurekar, my father's cousin, had come to visit my mother. And he picked up the child. And of course, as you know, children are all at that age, you know, they're all wrapped up, only the face is open. So he noticed the hole in the ear. And a few days later, when he came again and he picked up the baby next to my mother's crib, he said, well, he didn't find that. And he said, well, this is not our baby. So they said, what do you mean this is not our baby? So he said, no, it's not our baby. Our baby had a hole in the ear. I've got to explain that my mother was not in a special room, but she was in a general ward. So general ward where there are, you know, so many other, mothers as well. A big hall with lots of. So apparently the babies had been taken for a bath just a little while earlier. And when they were wrapped up, I think the nursing staff must have made some sort of a mistake. So my uncle went round along with the other nursing staff, went round the cribs of all the other, children over there. And he noticed me next to a fisherwoman, the child with the hole next to. He said, well, that is our baby. And so that's how I was back next to my mother's crib. So that was quite interesting. Yes.
And did that have any influence on your cricketing career later at all?
Oh, definitely. Look at the number of times I got caught fishing outside the off stump. Oh, yes. A big difference. All those outswingers that I could have left well alone. I went fishing for those outswingers and I was caught behind the stumps as well.
And how did your parents inspire you in the early days? And did they have any specific plans for you to be a doctor, engineer, or was cricketer even in the scheme of things? Or
no, I don't think so. I think what happens is in Mumbai, cricket is the big game. Just like in those days when I was playing, when I was a youngster, those days, hockey was the big game in Punjab, and football was the big game. Soccer was the big game in Kolkata and Goa and Kerala. So it was very simple and natural to take up to cricket. Also, the fact that my mother's elder brother was an India player. He had played 4 test matches for India. He was a wicketkeeper batsman named Madhav Mantri. He captained Mumbai as well, played for a long time. Then after his retirement, went on to become the president of the Mumbai Cricket Association. He was also in the selection committee, in the India selection committee, in the Mumbai selection committee. And then in 1990, he was the manager of the Indian team when Sachin Tendulkar got his first ever Test 100. So he was the manager of the India team in 1990 to England. So he was clearly the one who inspired me to take up to cricket. My father was a club level cricketer, good cricketer, but club level cricketer only. And in those days, cricket was not a career option. What cricket did in those days was, if you were a half decent cricketer, then you were pretty much sure of getting a job, because corporate cricket, office cricket, was very big in Mumbai. It is big, but not as big, because none of the international players are able to play corporate cricket because of their very heavy international schedule. But in those days, when the international schedule wasn't all that heavy, the corporate cricket was big. And so you might be a dropout in school, but if you played half decent cricket, you got a job, and you had a job till you were 60 or whatever the retirement age in that company was. So I took up to cricket mainly because of the fact that my uncle was a test player, and my father also played a bit of cricket. Yes, I think they gave me every help. My parents gave me every backing. There were occasions when my father didn't allow me to go and play cricket. For example, when the London schoolboys team came and they played a series of 5 test matches against the Indian schoolboys 11. So I played 4 test matches. The 5th test was around what would be my matriculation. And he said, no, you're not going to play because I want you to stay and study. So I didn't play that 5th test match against the London schoolboys. And then there was another time, a couple of years later, when I was in the intermediate, and my results, my midterm results were not very good. So he said, you're not going to play inter-university cricket because I want you to study. I want you to get a degree. A degree helped. If you played cricket and you had a degree as well, then it certainly helped in getting a better job in any of the corporates that could employ you. So I think yes, I think he taught me the importance of balancing study as well as cricket. And I do believe that education is important. I do believe that studies are important, because what it helped me during my lean periods was to be able to think systematically as to what I was doing wrong. Sometimes, I think education helps you to be able to actually think in a much more clearer manner as to what you were doing, what I was doing wrong on the cricket field. And so I do, every time I meet youngsters, I keep telling them, don't neglect your studies. I don't say that you have to be an absolutely a class topper. You've got to be in the top 3 or something like that. But education is certainly a big help in your sporting career.
Wonderful. So that is great to have such wonderful support from your family and parents.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And how did you develop this strong technique, focus, and determination in the early part of your career?
Well, at that stage, Vijay Merchant was the idol of every cricketer of my era, young cricketer, because of his superb technique, because of his superb record in England in a wet summer. In 1946, he had scored more than 2,500 runs with, I think, a dozen centuries or something like that. That was fantastic. And so he was the supreme technician. And so the whole idea was to try and bat like him, try and, be able to, because I also happened to be an opening batsman, he was an opening batsman, try and sort of emulate him as far as technique was concerned. Obviously, you couldn't be as good as him because he was something really extraordinary. But technique is, what helps you. Though I have always believed that it's temperament that separates the men from the boys. You could have the best technique in the world, but if you don't have the temperament, you're not going to do too well. So, yes, I think a lot of practice helped.
That's wonderful. I mean, as you rightly said, whether it's in cricket or any other field of life in your profession, the temperament, the attitude determines the altitude in your career. And that's so true. And Could you share with us some of your best innings or memorable moments during your cricketing days, please?
Well, I think the happiest moment and the most wonderful memory is winning the World Cup in 1983. That is, there's nothing to beat that, because that was absolutely incredible. And now I think there is a film coming out on that very shortly.
Yes.
I've been to a day shooting, and I've got to say the guys who are playing us have done a marvelous job. They've done an absolutely marvelous job. They've managed to study the old films and see how we walk, how we talk, and they've got it all absolutely spot on. It's unbelievable. So I think that film is something worth looking forward to. It would have been released last month, but for COVID-19, now obviously it's been postponed, and so maybe later in the year, September, October, whenever the theaters open. So that is then. But that is, like I said, that 1983 win is my happiest memory, because the country won the World Cup, and nothing can be greater than that.
We all remember your famous statement about India winning the World Cup again in 2011, and the last six that MS Dhoni scored, right? That is so patriotic and wonderful about the feelings for the World Cup, and hopefully India will win it again next year in India. Yeah.
Yes. Well, next year is the T20 World Cup in India, but 2023 is going to be the World Cup again, the 50 overs World Cup in India.
Yes.
And what happened was that 2011 World Cup in India actually has started a trend of the host country winning.
Yes.
Because 2015 Australia and New Zealand were the hosts, and Australia won.
Correct.
2019 England were the hosts and England won. So hopefully that trend will continue in 2023. India will win the World Cup again. So that'll be fantastic.
That'll be really awesome. So apart from the World Cup memories, is there any specific innings that you cherish the most? What was like your best innings during your cricketing career?
Well, my best innings really is not even a century innings. My best innings is an innings of, what I think is the best innings is an innings of 57. That was my first tour of England.
Mm-hmm.
For the first time, I was seeing a real green pitch, grassy pitch in England. It was such that from the change room, and we had a change room at a higher level on the first floor. From the change room, when you look down on the ground, you couldn't make out what was the pitch and what was the outfield. It was that green, and it was drizzling just a little bit. So it's the kind of drizzle where the umpires don't take you off the field. You carry on playing, but that drizzle was actually making the pitch a lot fresher, and the ball was therefore flying and moving after pitching either way. And England had a good attack. John Price was bowling very fast. Peter Lever was also bowling fast and getting the ball to move. And to be able to score 57 in those conditions, my first ever knock on a green grassy pitch. And it was cold. It was very cold. But I was superstitious, so I wasn't wearing a jumper. So I played all my cricket in Mumbai. Mumbai, you hardly ever wear a jumper.
Yeah.
So I got used to playing without a jumper, and I just sort of was superstitious then. And so I didn't wear a jumper. It was cold. Luckily, of course, the gloves and all helped in not feeling the cold. But the ball was really moving around. Ball was flying around. And that 57, therefore, is my best innings in my career.
Wow. And Sunil, my favorite innings, the Chennai 236 not out, because my father always, even today, raves about it because he was there live watching it in Chennai. So could you share any moments from that innings, please? Yeah.
Well, that was the time I was batting down the order at number 4. And I'd asked for that little thing to bat at number 4 because what had happened was before that series, Gundappa Vishwanath was playing for India. And he used to be standing in first slip all the time. And I would be in the slips only when Kapil used to be bowling or the new ball bowlers would be bowling, or unless the pitch was turning and you had to have 2 slips. So if you're out in the field, that level of concentration as you are in the slips and waiting for that edge is not quite there. So when Vishy retired and I took over that first slip position, it was like I was looking at the edge of the bat, the outside edge of the bat, right throughout the West Indian innings. And that was tiring me mentally when it came to my turn to open the batting. And so I was going out and then not playing good cricket. And so I thought that maybe if I could get a little bit of a breather and bat down the order at number 4, I might be able to get my mind right to be able to play. And so I was slotted at number 4 for this game at Chennai, the last test match of the series. And Malcolm Marshall was bowling the first over. And of the 4th ball of the first over, he got Anshuman Gaikwad out, fending off a bouncer and caught in the slips. Of the next ball, again a bouncer, and he had Dilip Vengsarkar caught off the next ball. So instead of getting any breather, I had to go out to bat in the first over itself. The last ball of the first over, I was trying to prevent a hat trick for Malcolm Marshall, and I managed to do that. I played the ball down, and Viv Richards, who was in second slip, as he ran past me because the over had been completed, as he ran past me to get into the slips of the other end, he turned around and said to me, "Hey man, oh man, no matter what number you bat, man, the score is still 0." So he said the score was still 0, and that was right. The score was still 0, even though I was batting at number 4.
And despite that, you scored the 236 not out, which is, I think, your highest score, correct, in test innings?
That's right. That is right.
Wonderful. That's great. Of course, we have to hear about Sunil Gavaskar, the bowler, and the wicket of Zahir Abbas, the great batsman. So can you please share that with us, Sunil? Yeah.
Well, Zahir and I, we had been teammates in 1971, playing for the rest of the world against Australia. We spent about 3 months on that trip, and we became very good friends. So we still are very good friends. And so Zahir had scored 100 in the first innings of that test cricket between India and Pakistan had just been resumed after 18 years. And so India was touring Pakistan. Zahir had scored 100 in the first innings. And we had replied. I think they had scored 560 and we had scored 460 something. So the match was now petering out into a draw. It was coming towards the end of the last day's play, towards that. And so Zahir was in the 80s when the ball was given to me, because clearly the captain did not want to tire the regular bowlers. So and there was no prospect of us batting in the second innings, maybe for about 10 minutes or so. So if Pakistan declared, so he gave the captain Bishan Singh Bedi gave me the ball, and the moment the ball was given to me, Zahir Abbas turned around and said to Kirmani, the wicketkeeper, "Arey yaar, isko nahi, aur kisi ko bhi de de, but isko nahi," because he knew that I would be fooling around. Because the match was now, it was a foregone conclusion. So I was fooling around. So the first ball of that over, I started by pushing off from the side screen. I went long run up all the way to the side screen and bowled that ball. Well, that completely tired me. So second ball, the run up was almost half. And by the time it came to the fourth or the fifth ball, I was bowling off a spinner's run up. So, but again, for the next over or so, I was fooling around. So I had a zigzag run up. I was, going across the umpire and bowling. It was all, so I was doing everything just to have fun and to give the crowd also over there something to cheer. But that certainly did seem to have upset Zahir's concentration, it seems to me. Because he was on 96 when I tossed the ball up, and he went for a lofted drive where he could get a boundary and get his 100 and a century in each innings. It would have been. Sadly for him, he got a little bit of an inside edge, and he was caught at mid-on by Chetan Chauhan. So my first wicket and only wicket in Test cricket was Zahir Abbas. The fact that he talks to me means that we are good friends. He still talks to me.
Wow. And you also got him out in the one-day game also, right? And he was.
That is right. That is right. My only wicket in one day cricket is also Zaheer Abbas. That time he was trying to get to his 50. I think he got out 48 again, trying to play over the top. And again, he wasn't quite able to get the elevation. So he got caught at extra cover.
Wow, amazing. I mean, all these stories we can keep hearing. These are so wonderful stories and memories. But Suniji, is it true that you played without looking at the scoreboard at all?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I thought that was the best way to play because you don't want the pressure of the scoreboard on you. And because every batsman has his own way, own method of scoring runs, of looking and planning his innings. And a lot of batsmen plan it in tens, for example. So they say to themselves that I'll get to 10, I'll go to 20, I'll get to 30 that way. But sometimes in trying to get to that smaller target, you can play a shot of a ball that is not really there to play. For example, if you're looking to get to a 50, if you're say 46 or something like that, you might think that this is the one that I'll get a boundary of, and the ball actually might not be a ball that you want to play the drive of. So you could edge it and get out caught, or maybe the ball will stop and you could be caught in the covers. So if you didn't look at the scoreboard, I thought that you would play each ball on its merits. You don't have to, So the only thing that every time I got out was the time I looked at the scoreboard to see how many runs I had scored. Otherwise, till then, I really wasn't interested in knowing what my individual score was. Yes, there were occasions when you had to look at the scoreboard because you're looking for a declaration. So you had to look at the scoreboard and look at the time. Those were exceptions. But otherwise, generally, I didn't look at the scoreboard at all.
Wow, that's incredible. And just for the viewers' benefit, what a incredible record that Sunuji has, despite not looking at the scoreboard that often. 125 matches and 10,122 runs in Test cricket at an average of 51.12 and 34 hundreds, and amazing record, Sunuji. And during our in-person sessions, we actually go into a lot more detail about various aspects of your beginning, the hard work and the determination, the perfection in your technique, the courage in facing these fast bowlers especially the West Indian fast bowlers without a helmet, and the competitiveness and the aspiration and all the achievements that you have wonderfully made, and that truly makes you the master of cricket. And because of time restrictions today, we are not able to cover all these aspects in detail, but hopefully we will have a in-person event soon where we could do a lot more in-detail stories of all these aspects. But we do have thousands of viewers watching this program live, both on YouTube streaming as well as through Radio Zindagi, both on their radio broadcast as well as on their Facebook app. And we have a lot of questions, Sunilji. So we wanted to allocate enough time for the questions from the viewers, if you're okay. So the first question we have is actually from Southern California Cricket Association. They're asking, what do you think the short and long-term impact will be on sporting events, especially as it relates to the game of cricket?
Well, I think the short-term impact is obviously going to be that there won't be too many games of cricket to be played straight away, because I think there will be conditions put about distancing, social distancing. Now, if you're going to be sitting in a change room, and not a lot of change rooms are huge, so where is the question of the social distancing? So I think maybe cricket will take a little longer time to resume. And I'm not even talking about crowds at your grounds or at your stadium. So I think that is going to be the one short-term impact is that you might actually not see active cricket for quite some time. And maybe the long-term impact could be in terms of the number of tours that you make. Again, you're traveling by aircraft. So what are going to be the conditions of air travel? Would you be able to sit next to a passenger? Will there be a distance between passengers? So all those factors will mean that maybe, sport as we know it will certainly be a lot different. There is always also the talk about saliva being used on the ball or the sweat being used by the bowling side, the fielding side. Yes, there'll be thoughts about that as well. I guess, you might have a situation where every player will be tested before he plays a game, at least at the international level, before deciding whether to allow saliva to be applied to the ball or not. So I think that is going to be the situation. And I don't think it's going to change too much for at least another 6 to 8 months, unless a vaccine is found. If a vaccine is found, then we might be able to get back to normal sooner than later. But a vaccine needs to be found very, very, very soon.
Sure. So I think health and safety are of utmost priority. So you're right. And we also have a question from Mr. Vishwa from Seattle. He's asking, what made you write an autobiography so early in your career? Are you contemplating writing one now that reflects your cricketing career, administrator in various capacities as a commentator, as well as the life of a philanthropist? Sunilji, can you hear us?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Okay. I was asking a question from Mr. Vishwa from Seattle. He was asking, what made you write an autobiography so early in your career? Are you contemplating writing one now that reflects your cricketing career, administrator in various capacities as a commentator, as well as the life of a philanthropist?
Yes, we discussed this a little earlier in the program. Well, I've been looking to pen down my thoughts. I've been thinking about, thinking about it. I haven't got around to doing it. But maybe if the lockdown is extended, maybe I think I will do it, because there's only so much of reading that one can do. There's only so much of other things that you can do. So maybe I might actually get down to penning my thoughts. But at the moment, no, I haven't thought about it.
Okay. And we have a question from one of the listeners from Radio Zindagi. His question is, how can cricket in ODI and T20 format come to US? A 4 or 5 nation or so series is possible?
I think in US at the moment, what will really work is the T20 format, because US is a country which has got sport which lasts for about maybe a couple of hours or 2.5, 3 hours at best. So I would imagine that the US public would be more keen on watching a 3-hour game. A T20 game is a 3-hour game, maybe just a little over 3 hours. So I think that will appeal to the US public a lot more. I think that is what the US Cricket Association should be really looking to start with, so that there's more interest generated. Once more interest is generated, then maybe you can look at having a 50 overs game.
Sorry. As expected, there has to be a MS Dhoni question from one of the radio viewers. He's asking, is Dhoni not a huge value as wicketkeeper, as on-ground strategist and dependable batsman, even if he has at his 90% potential? Sorry.
I didn't understand that.
Okay. The question is Dhoni not a huge value as a wicketkeeper, as an on-ground strategist and dependable batsman, even if he's at his 90% potential?
Oh yeah, definitely yes. Definitely yes.
Yeah. Okay. We have another question from Mr. Naru from Seattle. What is being done to help the local cricketers who are unable to earn their living in the current situation?
Well, at the Mumbai Cricket Association level, from what I get to read, they've been looking after the groundsmen because Mumbai has got so many maidans. So the groundsmen are being looked after. Some of the officials of the Mumbai Cricket Association have been going around, giving them some funds, giving them food packets, etc., etc. So they've been looked after. So it's sad it's not been possible to do for every cricketer. In fact, there are some who are looking to play the Mumbai Premier League. That couldn't happen because of the COVID-19. And so, yes, I think it's tough. But as far as the first-class cricketers are concerned and test cricketers are concerned, they are all getting their pensions, so I'm told.
That's good. We have a question from Mr. Sanjeev of Radio Zindagi. If India-Australia Test Series happens later this year in Australia, what would be the Indian team's strategy to win the series again? They beat Australia last time, but Steve Smith and David Warner were not in the team. And now that they are back, can Team India win this time?
Well, the strategy will be to get these two out quickly and the new star, Labuschagne, and then score more runs than the Australians. It's a very simple strategy. Score more runs, take more wickets than the Australians. That's a simple strategy, excepting it's not as simple as it sounds.
Yes, true. We have a question from Mr. Raj Kataria in Los Angeles. What challenges you faced in your legendary career and how did you overcome those challenges?
Well, the biggest challenge that I faced was that I lost belief in myself after the West Indies tour. Then I didn't score 100 for almost 3.5 years. So that was where I had started to doubt my abilities as a cricketer, as a batsman. So therefore, to get my 5th 100 and at Old Trafford, again, in extreme conditions, green pitch, the ball flying around, cold weather, to get 100, which was my first 100 after my debut 3 years earlier. The challenge was in trying to keep my spirits up. The challenge was in trying to believe in myself. I wasn't even able to score runs at the Ranji Trophy level. I wasn't scoring heavily in Ranji Trophy either. So really, I started to get to a situation where, am I good enough? What had happened in the West Indies? Was it a fluke? All those kinds of thoughts were coming through. And I think it is at this stage that, two things really helped me. One was my faith in Sri Satya Sai, that he's besides me, he will guide me. And secondly, my parents, my family, they really, really helped me. They were all the time telling me that you will score runs, you will be able to, you've been always scoring runs. And everybody goes through a bad patch. They gave me names of all the great batsmen, Indian batsmen, overseas batsmen who had gone through a lean patch. He said everybody has to go through a lean patch. That is no cricketer's career is complete unless they go through 1 or 2 lean patches in their career. And how you bounce back after the patches actually defines you as a cricketer and as an individual. So they were all the time trying to encourage me. So that was really a big crisis time for me. That last year in particular, from 73 to 74, when I hadn't got any runs in Ranji Trophy as well as in Test cricket, that was a tough one.
We have a question from Mr. Kiran on YouTube. I would be interested in knowing what triggered you to play that astonishing whirlwind knock against the West Indies at New Delhi in the 1983 Test.
Well, there was no trigger as such, excepting that I'd got out trying to defend the short ball in the previous game. And I said to myself, no, I'm going to attack, because when I started my career in 1971, I was attacking the short ball. Every time the bouncer was bowled, I was hooking it. Later on, I realized that it was not a great percentage shot, because you were not always able to control the hook shot. That's one shot that's very difficult to control, because you don't actually know exactly what the bounce is going to be. So it's not, and so the percentages were not great. So I'd given up that hook shot. I was swaying under the ball, or I was ducking under the ball. I wasn't playing the attacking shot of the bouncer. So this time I said, no, I'm going to play the attacking shot. And that's what happened. So every time they bowled a bouncer, I played the hook shot, started to get runs. They started to bowl a little differently. And so I was able to get runs. So yes, I think it was just the fact that I thought I'm not going to defend the short ball, but I'm going to attack the short ball that made the difference.
Wonderful. Of course, we're getting a lot of comments also on YouTube and Facebook. I just want to read out one of the comments from Mr. Yogesh Joshipura. He says, Sunilji, the heart-to-heart signed bat, cricket bat you gave to my son Sanjeev in California last September occupies the pride of place in my living room. Your contribution to H2H is even greater than your contribution to world cricket. God bless you and keep contributing more to such endeavors. So that's his comment. So thank you, Mr. Yogesh.
Well, Yogesh was at school with me. So Yogesh used to play a bit of cricket as well at school level with me. So we know each other. We've been in contact on the email off and on. So thank you, Yogesh, for those sentiments. And I'm absolutely delighted to be able to do what I can to save children's lives. And the fact that your son got the bat meant that he also had made a contribution to the heart-to-heart. And that is what this whole exercise is about, to try and make more people aware of how they can join in the fight to save as many children's lives as possible. So thank you, Yogi, for your kind words, and all the best to you and your family.
Yes. On that note, I remember now, I wanted to mention that a lot of other famous cricketers who are watching this program live. In fact, this morning I got a message from one of our friends in Sri Lanka. They mentioned that the great cricketer from Sri Lanka, Mr. Roshan Mahanama, has been keenly looking forward to watching this program and also getting involved in this mission because of the hospital coming up in Sri Lanka also. So do you have any words for him?
Yes, I think Roshan's been one of the finest cricketers that Sri Lanka produced, a terrific opening batsman. He was a terrific fielder as well. And then later on, after retirement, he's been a match referee who's handled many tricky situations very, very well. And so his contribution to cricket has been enormous. And it's a delight to know that he's wanting to join in the campaign and the fight to save as many children's lives. And yes, hopefully when the hospital is opened in Sri Lanka, we'll be able to save a lot more children's lives in Sri Lanka as well. I know that some of the children from Sri Lanka are coming to the hospitals in India. The neighbors like Arvind had explained earlier on, even from Pakistan, we've had a few, from Afghanistan, we've had a few children coming and their lives have been saved. So yes, I think welcome Roshan, and look forward to partnering with you.
Wonderful. And on a similar note, Sunilji, we have a comment and a question from Mr. Kurt Grover from Seattle. He's mentioning, Sunil and Arvind, thanks for doing this. What can we do to support such a cause? Is his question. Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, if you can spread this message of what the Heart-to-Heart Foundation is doing along with the Sai Sanjeevani hospitals, that's the most important thing. That if you spread the message, make more people aware, that is the most important message. And then certainly, yes, I think when hopefully we'll come to Seattle this time, maybe later in the year, and at which point we will maybe ask you to maybe come and join us again in making more people aware. And obviously, along with the awareness, if some people can make a contribution, that'll be fantastic. That'll be the icing on the cake.
Sure. Thank you. And we have a question from Mr. Omkar Joshi and Mr. PSR Murthy from India. I know you mentioned a lot about the fitness aspects earlier in the discussion, but they're asking, please share your fitness tips, especially at this age. It surely goes beyond food and exercise. Please share how you have trained your mind to be so young.
Well, yes, I think I actually haven't trained my mind to be young. I quite enjoy what I do, whether it is just doing nothing, spending time with my grandchildren, which doesn't happen too often because they've got busy lives as well, or just spending time with my family. So I think it helps you to relax. It helps you not to really think too far ahead. And perhaps in my profession, where I'm doing a lot of commentary, to be involved with young people also is a big plus. Commentary, I think, needs to have a blend of the experience as well as the youth, and we have that in the commentary boxes now, or in the studio, and that's fantastic because there are stories exchanged in the off period, which at lunchtime when maybe there is no commentary, there is no show. There are so many stories exchanged, and so you actually feel youthful being in the company of younger people. So I think that's probably been the way that maybe make you feel that I've got a youthful mind.
If I can add to that, Sunilji, I mean, I was so inspired myself last year during the tour. You were so disciplined, following the intermittent fasting and skipping breakfast every day. I remember, I think there was only once you made a very rare exception to have breakfast, which was actually that too for idlis. But almost all the other times you never had breakfast, just had lunch and dinner, which was so amazing.
And if you remember the youngster over there, the son of the house, was very good at making waffles. So after the idli, I even had waffles, which was fantastic. So I'm looking forward to that trip again. And they made a huge contribution to our to the H2H. I remember. Awesome. So I want to thank them again for that wonderful contribution.
Thank you. And are you still continuing with your intermittent fasting, Sunilji? Or
yes, I am. Yes. It is. I mean, when I was there in America, it was like almost 16 hours of intermittent fasting. Now it's more like 14 and a half, 15 hours of fasting. But yes, I am still going. I'm missing one meal basically. And I think that certainly helps as far as, losing weight is concerned, because you're eating that much less.
Although I must say, I learned an easier way to do this from Mrs. Gavaskar. She told me practice intermittent fasting with the E. And I first asked, what is it? She said it's intermittent feasting. So I think that's what I think will be good. But we have another question from Mr. Ashok Adi Kopula. He's asking, Gary Kirsten was very humbled to know that he was recommended by the great Sunny for Indian coaching job. The result is history. So what made him pick Gary Kirsten?
Well, two things. I think firstly, of course, his career, because he scored runs in that time there was no T20. He'd scored more than I think 9,000 runs in Test cricket, and I think an equal number in one-day cricket, which meant that he had got a lot of experience in all kinds of conditions, all countries over the world he had played, and he'd been successful. He was also, in my view, and this is not trying to put him down, but he was also not a natural batsman. So he worked hard at his batting and he got to where he was by sheer dint of hard work. And that was also important as a coach, to be able to explain to some very talented players that talent only is not enough. You got to work hard for it. And I thought when I sat with him, he was part of a selection committee of the ICC that year, when we picked teams, the best team, the annual team, which actually doesn't play. It is just announced, the best Test 11, best one-day 11. And in that particular selection, and we did that over the phone, what I found was he wasn't trying to push South Africans. A lot of times people try to push their own countrymen into the mix of the 11. And he wasn't doing that. He was actually going according, to who was good, and looking at the balance of the team for the ICC. And that was very impressive, that here is a man who's looking beyond his country, who's able to do that. And I think these were the factors that made me just check with him whether he was keen on coaching an Indian team, because I thought that he would bring all these aspects, the selfless aspect, not looking only at South Africa, the hard work aspect of his own career, and of course, the experience he had gathered as a player. That would certainly come in, because, at the end of the day, what the coach generally brings, he brings sometimes a different perspective than what you see on the field. On the field, the captain, the players are under pressure to deliver right there. The coach is sometimes just sitting in the change room, not in the heat out there, and he's able to therefore see something which you might, as a captain or as a senior player, not be able to see out on the field because you're under so much pressure. So that is where the coach's role comes in, that he was able to then send a message with somebody to try and maybe experiment this way, or when they come back at the interval, try and speak about, how things could maybe change, something different can be tried. And I thought that Gary was exactly that kind of a person who would be able to bring that to the Indian team. And he certainly did that, because they look at what the results he achieved. He got India to #1 position in Test cricket. Yeah. And he also won India the World Cup after 28 years. So, the Indian cricket owes an enormous debt of gratitude to Gary Kirsten. In fact, I don't know whether overseas nationals can be given an Indian award, but I think one of the Padma awards can certainly be given to Gary Kirsten. Even now, 8-9 years down the road, one of the Padma awards could be given to Gary Kirsten for his wonderful contribution to Indian cricket.
Wonderful. That's great. I'm sure he'll be very, very happy to hear this. And we have another question from Mr. Mani Jagatishan from YouTube. He's asking, Mr. Gavaskar, you got hit on your cheek and then went on the wrist. If my recollection is correct, how did you manage to play without a helmet facing the likes of Andy Roberts, etc.?
Well, I don't know how I managed, but I managed. Yeah, I got hit on the cheek while I was fielding. I didn't get hit on the cheek while I was batting. So I was fielding at forward short leg, and I got hit over there. As for playing without a helmet, we grew up in the pre-helmet era. So it was just, we didn't even think of helmet as a necessity. In fact, my first year in international cricket, we didn't even have a thigh pad. So what we did was with the ball smacking our thighs and making the thighs go black and blue, we used to get the hand towels in hotels, the rooms that we stayed in, the hand towels, and we would then stuff them in the pockets of our front pockets of the left pocket of our trousers when we went out to bat, and that would be the kind of flimsy thigh pad that we had that time. So the fact that there was no helmet, was just one of those things, simply because we never had a helmet in those days. And it actually helped you to keep your eye on the ball. Today with the helmet, a lot of people tend to tuck their chin into their shoulders, lose sight of the ball and get hit on the helmet.
True. There's a question from same person, Mr. Mani Jagdishan, to H2H Foundation. He's asking, how is the cost of a cardiac surgery reduced from $5,000 to $1,200? Is it because of equipment used, doctor's fees, and God bless all the people in those hospitals? Do you want to add anything, or do you want me to take that, Sunilji?
You take that.
Okay, so first of all, this is a great question, because there have been a lot of frugal innovations and optimizations that have been done over the years. In fact, one particular aspect I would like to highlight is something called as Matru Chaya, where the mother of the child undergoing the surgery is actually trained to become the nurse taking care of this child. And obviously, as you can expect, the mother will take the best care of the child and so on. So this is actually a model that is being studied and recommended to other hospitals worldwide, and it's shown tremendous results. And also with a lot of optimizations, we used to hear from one of our advisors here, Dr. Sunny Anand from Stanford University, when he actually went to visit the Sai Sanjeevani hospitals in India. He found that a lot of these devices, the exact dimensions are required, and sometimes in other countries or other hospitals, they have like a whole strip and then they waste a lot of these devices, not knowing exactly the exact size and dimensions and so on. But in this case, they have a process to identify the exact size and choose just that right device that is required for the surgery. And because of that, a lot of cost optimizations are happening. And like this, there are quite a few things that have been really revolutionary in the Sai Sanjeevani care model. And I would actually suggest everyone when you go to India next time to kindly take some time off to visit one of these hospitals, either in Mumbai, Delhi, or near Delhi, or in Chhattisgarh, Raipur, if possible. I mean, seeing is believing. You have to absolutely see this to believe this transformative experience for not only the patients and their families, but even the doctors and other trainees who are coming to these hospitals getting trained. It's something like nowhere else. I mean, it's just unbelievable amount of work, great work that is being done at these hospitals. So that's how I think the cost has been optimized to $1,200. And of course, there are a few other rare corner cases which requires a more complicated surgery and so on. In those cases, obviously, the cost could go up higher to $1,500 or even $2,000 and so on. But most of the cases are optimized quite well, and some of the cath procedures are also even lower than that. So definitely, I would request all the viewers to take an opportunity to actually go and visit these hospitals. I know we're running out of time soon, but I want to mention that towards the end, we're going to play a very quick video, possibly like a virtual tour of these hospitals, especially in the current COVID crisis situation and so on. But just maybe one last question, Sunilji, from Mr. Deepak Relan from Los Angeles. How do you balance both personal and professional life?
Well, I think it's thanks to my family, thanks to my wife and my family. It's been very easy to be able to do that because I can go and cover the matches. Most times, not every time, clearly. Most times, my wife travels with me, so that makes it easy to be able to balance family time along with professional duties. And I guess that's just something that has come quite naturally. In fact, even when I was playing, she used to travel with me everywhere, just about every tour, and so that certainly helped. I was one of those who believed that if you can afford it, and of course it was a question of being able to afford it in those days. I mean, your wife should travel with you, and because if you're doing a 9-to-5 job, at the end of the day, once your 9-to-5 job is done, you go back home, you go back to your wife or your family. And the same with cricket. The cricket was also from say 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock. But after that, what? And yes, I think it's important also to spend some time with your teammates. So therefore, I think the thing to do, which I believed in, was for the first maybe 2 weeks of the tour, when you're trying to gel with each other as teammates, trying to get team practice sessions, etc. There are official functions which are to be attended. So once you get all these out of the way, then you have a rhythm to all your practice sessions. Then you have a system that is there. Then the wives can come in, and that makes it that much easier.
Wonderful. Sorry, Sanjay, we have just a couple more questions from radio viewers just came in. Is it okay if we can take those?
Yeah. Well,
maybe the last question, if you like. If you had to name 3 bowlers you had to face, who would you select the most challenging? Thanks.
Andy Roberts, one for sure. Andy Roberts. Then in the spin would be Derek Underwood and B.S. Chandrasekhar. Because when we played against Karnataka, he was the one that was always dangerous.
Sure. Thank you so much, Sanjay. Thanks for patiently answering all those questions. I know we have a lot more questions coming up and so on, but in the interest of time, we would like to stop here. But if you have more questions, please write to us. And of course, any questions on H2H Foundation, we'll be happy to answer them through our contact details. And as you can see, Sunnyji is truly batting for life here, for the life of all these children. And we're very, very honored to have him as our chairman of board of governors with H2H Foundation. So we're just going to play a very short video clip before we conclude on possibly a virtual tour in the current COVID situation. So as the video said, the mission is wherever there is a pulse, there is a fight. And that is so true, whether it is the children suffering from congenital heart defects or all of us going through this current COVID situation. And again, if you would like to participate in the work that we are doing, please visit our website, which is h2h.foundation, or contact us through our email, info.usa@h2h.foundation. And we really wanted to thank Sunilji for taking time amidst the lockdown at home. And thank you so much, Sunilji. It was wonderful having you joining live with us. And hopefully we can have you more in person very soon in the US and in other countries too. And convey our best regards to your family. And thank you so much on behalf of H2H Foundation and all of us on this program. Thank you for taking time and joining us. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for being with us, and hope you'll continue to be with us in our campaign to try and save as many lives as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. And on behalf of all the children and the entire Sai Sanjeevani and H2H Foundation team, wanted to thank all the viewers and listeners from the Radio Zindagi, and also to our partners, and also all the other cricket associations in the US, Mr. Meher Gandhi from Southern California Cricket Association, Mr. Biju Nair from NCCA, and all the other associations, Mr. Atul Hakku, and all of you who have been supporting our events and H2H Foundation. Thank you once again. And thanks to all the viewers for joining us. With this, we will conclude the program. Thank you again. Have a great evening, and wish you all a very happy Mother's Day in India, and happy Mother's Day for people in USA tomorrow. And let's hope and pray that none of these mothers have to undergo and go through this situation of losing their children. So let's all work together collectively in saving more children's lives. Thank you so much again. Have a good evening.